Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to part 4 of my Tamiya Hotshot build. Now, I've had to move inside today. I'm on babysitting duty tonight. My wife has decided to go out, and I have been left at home looking after my daughter, which means I can't go down into the hobby room and do work down there. I've got to stay in the house. So I brought the hobby room to the house. I brought all the bits and pieces I need up with me, and we're going to get started on part 4, which I think the first step is sorting out the servo and getting the servo saver mounted up. So we're going to go ahead and get all the pieces out and have a look. Right, first job I've got to do. Cat's made an appearance. First thing I've got to do before I start doing anything with servo savers is I've got to go ahead and get everything connected up. I've got to get the receiver up to the transmitter, got to put the ESC on, got to get the servo mounted up. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that connected, get the servo saver on, and we'll go from there. Step 26, putting on the servo saver. Now for this one, we're going in with the high torque servo saver. You know that I really struggle with these things normally. So wherever possible, I always try and get the high torque servo saver to go on. I just find it's a better fit and I don't tend to have as many problems with them. Other people, I'm sure, have fine with the standard Tamiya servo savers. But I'm going to go ahead and get this onto the servo and show you what it looks like. There we go. I've got the high torque servo saver mounted up on the servo. And it's quite nice. The servo moves quite quickly and responds quite quickly. So the next step is now 27. We're going to do these steering rods now and make sure that they're perfect, and then we'll mount those up to the servo. Just a little mistake in the manual. It says that these are from parts bag B, but actually they're from part bag C. Right, we're going to go ahead and get the servo all mounted up now. Taking note to make sure that we get the servo stays the right way around. And then put on the servo arms. Okay guys. Okay, that was slightly harder than it needed to be. I ended up, because I used the high torque servo saver, I ended up having to use some slightly different ball connectors at the top there. And they sort of come in at the bottom there and attach to a little bolt at the bottom. Sorry, a little nut at the bottom. You see that? Rather than using the ball connector supplied. So we're now on step 29, which is one of my favourite steps in any build, putting the electrics in. But I hate the wires, and there's loads of complicated wires on this one. But let's get it going. We've got the tub upside down just to show you how close that servo saver is. If I just move it, how close is that? Look, there's just enough clearance in it to get by. Really tight, but it works. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of the electronics in. There we go. It's not the neatest electronics, but we've got the motor cables going out the side, the battery one out of that side, we've got an aerial which I haven't decided what to do with yet, and then I've mounted the ESC there, and the receiver on that side. The servo wires all nice and neat. So the next step is mounting this onto the body, and then also putting the battery switch at the top. Step 30, we are going to have a go at mounting all this to the body. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is get this switch wire here, sort of down in there somewhere, because I've just realised the propeller comes across this side somewhere. If I don't get that laid down, it's going to have the danger of getting caught up against the propeller. So let's try and sort that out. And then we're going to attach everything to the top and hopefully show you what it all looks like when it's finished. That was not fun. So I've got the electrics tub on now with some wires sticking out, which I'll sort out later. I think I've got it all clear of this in the middle. The brushless motor cable is a right pain in the what's it. I now wish I'd poked it out the outside with the rest of them. But I didn't, so it is what it is at this point. I suppose I could have somehow tied those up. Got to work out what we do with all this back here, because I don't like the idea of all these wires hanging out the back, but I suppose that's how the Hotshot was. But I can't get those screws in all the way with my dodgy screwdriver. So what I've got coming are some Tamiya JIS screwdrivers. I'm worried that I'm going to strip out those screws if I try and tighten them any further. They've already started to go a little, you can see. And I don't want to keep going and end up wrecking it. So I'm going to stop and pause on those. We're going to move on to step 31, which is attaching the front bumper, and get that bit done. And we'll come back and tighten those up when I get the screwdrivers. Okay guys, we've got the bumper mounted. Now, step 32, it says adjust the steering. Adjust the upright angle forwards, but mine looks fairly forward already, so I'm not going to alter that. We're going to leave it as it is, and we'll take a look at it once we've got it assembled. Step 33. Been looking forward to this. We're going to assemble the roll bar that goes around the top of the Hotshot. Right, let's go ahead and get all the pieces together, and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, that went together really quickly. Sorry I didn't show you what I was doing. So that was just 8 self-tapping screws into these, and then the little bars across the top. And we've got ourselves a start of a roll cage. Now, the next step is to put the windows or the netting down the side here. So I'm going to get those cut up next and get those on. Netting's on. That was really good fun, lots of cable ties. So now we're on to step 34, putting the roof on, and then we're going to mount the roll cage onto the body. Let's do it. It is starting to look like a Hotshot. It's amazing how one piece of the car can be so iconic, and once that rooftop goes on, the whole shape starts to form. Right, I'm going to move on now to step 36, I think I'm on now, 35, which is mounting the bits at the back of here. Step 35. Now, the original Hotshot had some big heat sinks at the back. Now, we don't need it with a modern ESC, but what Tamiya have given us are these lovely dummy heat sinks, and these are, they're plastic, I think, but they're quite weighty plastic pieces. And they're going to go on the back, and I mount them onto these plastic mounts, and they're going to go right on the back of the chassis. Cat's come to watch what I'm doing. So we've made those dummy heat sinks, and we're now going to mount them up onto the back there and screw down the rest of the roll cage. Heat sinks are on. Tidied up the cables for the motor. It's the only thing I don't like about this is that those motor cables are very exposed out there. But I suppose if I'm hitting anything in there, I've got bigger problems to worry about. So we've done that, we've screwed it all up. So the next step is step number 37, which is flipping it over and mounting the battery plate. Battery plate done, which also acts as a groovy stand. Look at that. Cool. Right, let's see what we're going to do in 38. Time for the wheels. Now remember, I went for these beautiful gold wheels, which I think are off the Hotshot, sorry, the Super Shot, but they were originally gold on the 1980s original, and those are the ones, again, that I would have had, you know, if I'd have been building this as a boy back in the 80s when I wanted it and I desired it. So let's get these onto the tyres, and then let's get them mounted up on the chassis. And there she is. We've got the wheels up. Look at that, stand is on. Now the only thing I'm not sure about, and you guys can tell me about this, what you think, is I think if I look up here, I think there's way too much, and that's toe, isn't it, on the wheels at the front. I mean, comment please in the comments and let me know what you think, but I just have a real bad feeling that that just doesn't look right. And it said to adjust them in, but should I have straightened them up? I'll come around the front, look. You can just see how much of an angle they've got at the front. I've really enjoyed this build, and you know, this is going to do it for part 3, and we'll pick up part 4, which will be doing the rest of the body shell, and of course adjusting that front. Again, as always, shout out to the RCL for making this content possible. This has been a wonderful, wonderful build for me. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I've learned an awful lot through the process. There's a cat there, did you see that? I've learned an awful lot through the process in terms of how I build these things up and what I enjoy. But I'm really pleased with the way this has worked out. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. And as always, if you've enjoyed my content, please consider giving me a like and subscribing. The cat says please do. See you on the next one, guys.